Oh, man, I swear these horror games are all the same. Can I get something different? I'm not asking for a Mona Lisa, I'm just asking for a nice game that I can enjoy in my free time, you know? Just to not hope that my life will end tomorrow, please! Ugh. I want this now! Oh fuck! Well, that was one of the best and surely the most pleasing game that I've ever played. But without wasting any more time, this is Cryostasis, the best horror game you've never played.
The game starts during a blizzard. We don't know where we are or why. The only things shown are some sketches accompanied by a female voice. She tells the story of a tribe that, many years ago, used to live in the steppe, surrounded on three sides by a dark and impenetrable wall of trees. But evil times came, and other tribes drove them off into the forest. The forest, due to its ancient nature, was dark and swampy, with trees so high that they shut out the view of the sky. Whenever they reached the swamp's water, poisonous vapors arose, envenoming the people. Everyone knew they had to get out, but there were only two options. One was to get back, but the other tribes were waiting for them, or simply push through. They would have fought, but the thought of losing their loved one made them doubt. So they sat thinking about their fate, night after night, while the shadows casted by the fire seemingly danced behind their back, as if they were mere shadows reacting to the flames, but the evil spirits of the forest and swamp celebrating their victory.
Of forest and bog, celebrating their triumph.
Climbing out of the hole we're in, it's impossible, and staying here means succumb to hypothermia. So we enter the hatch. Inside, it's dark and every wall is covered in ice. Luckily, we found a flashlight, but the situation doesn't improve. The first room we access is completely wrecked, a clear sign that, in the best scenario, this place was abandoned and left to rot. But in the next room, something strange happens. In the middle of a destroyed framework, a body materializes. By touching it, we quickly see a man and his leg falling into a hole. Up in the stairs, the same figure appears, holding onto a metal structure. Now he presumably shows the man from before, while the ice all around him breaks. For some reason, after the vision ends, we are on the other side of the walk. After entering another room, once again the figure appears, now showing the man approaching the ship until its horn caused all the ice to break. When it ends, we can see the mysterious person on the ground. Once reached, it let us experience what happened. After falling in the crater, the man swiftly pulls himself together. Looking around, we find a letter that reads:
Alexander Nesterov, a junior research assistant at the Pole 21 Polar Station on the 27th of March 1981, where he will board the nuclear icebreaker North Wind.
Well, it's not much, but at least now we know where we could be. Polar station are building used by researchers to, not die from cold, and they are usually found in the Arctic or the Antarctic. Following his dogs, we take Alexander to the side of the ship. By jumping in it, we enter a space where the same image visible at the start lies on the ground. And the game ends. Oh, no, my bad, I'm sorry. The game doesn't end now. My daily hours of happiness do. We are Alexander Nesterov, and this is the nuclear icebreaker North Wind. But clearly something went terribly wrong. Scatter empty food cans and mattresses only solidifies this eventuality that becomes certainty when we find a man frozen solid next to a generator. Upon turning it on, the temperature increases. And we can see it from our HOD, that little thing there on the bottom left. The outer circle is the temperature. If we find a heat source, Alexander can take off his gloves and heat up to replenish his health, which is the inner circle, while that white bar in between is the stamina, which of course depletes when we attack or run. Looking for a way around, we head outside the generator room, where another flashback occurs, but this time about two men sitting near a fire, until a crazy looking guy detached the half-a-ton door in front of us. Now, ignoring that, this means that whatever happened, the crew found itself stuck on the ship for quite some time. An interesting thought that quickly disappears when we notice that the frozen man is now gone. If we proceed on the path he was blocking, the man quickly appears behind our back, smashing the axe in the wall and throwing himself at the generator, ending up like how we first saw him. To be sure, we grab a chain and a lock just to defend ourselves. After a short while, other vision of the crew happens, but now they're not sitting around a fire. Instead, they're dealing with damages of an accident, keeping the door shut to contain the water and reinforcing the bodywork with wooden boards, at the end of which we get jumped by someone. Well, I mean, just be a crazy Dutch guy. Another flashback shows the room filling up with water. It's now made obvious that a devastating accident occurred. We continue to walk until a closed door. When opened, it reveals the body of a man, stuck in the ice. He's flashing with a strange red light, and when Alexander inspects it, we get sent into the man's last moment. By following instruction, we are able to lead the man to safety. When the vision ends, the man isn't there anymore, and the room is free of the ice. And the game tells we just saved a man's soul. And if you're thinking, hey, this is fucking confusing, well, don't worry, because things are about to get simply incomprehensible. As we get near an opening in the wall, a cutscene starts that takes us onto the ship's bow, where it shows the Vicha approaching the captain. He's concerned about ice formation detected by the rod, that is, a type of radar. The captain, absolutely not concerned, asks to the Vicha if he knows where the name rod comes from, at which he replies,
You had it, sir. Named after a divining rod, a stick used to search for water underground. Was real popular back in the days of wooden ships and navigating under the stars.
Such technique was called dowsing. Used until early 20th century, it requires a stick, maximum concentration and affinity with the environment. For example, if you stepped onto an underground water flow, the stick will have twist, revealing its position. And the captain then says,
Times change, but some things remain much the same. The ship must respect you. You must listen to her, understand her, talk to her, live with her one-on-one for many years. Then you become more than just a captain. You become a part of something bigger.
Implying that for him there is more to what we can see, hear, or simply understand. And to bully even more, he says.
Well, if you're keen, try this for now.
He handles him a paper boat. Well,
Massive.
chap. By continuing through our path, we'll see how the crew members were fighting the madman soon after the accident. Maybe some convicts were being transported, and they managed to escape. But yet this won't explain how they managed to survive in such harsh and terrible conditions. Without any explanation, we push through, until another deceived crew member can be found. After the accident, freezing water poured in, blocking him on a platform with only a dinghy. While escaping, it's clear how the man perished. He got constantly attacked by a water maniac, but with delicacy we were able to lead him to safety. Once back, the dinghy used by the man lies in front of us, with a strange letter on the spotlight. When picked up, the light turns on and the boat starts moving, while the female voice from the start continues the story of the lost tribe.
Danko was one of them, and he was young and handsome. Handsome people are always courageous.
Hey, listen, you piece of shit! Don't treat me like that!
And he said to his comrades, "Stones are not to be removed by thinking. He who does naught will come to naught. Why should we exhaust our energies thinking and brooding?" They looked at him and saw that he was the best man among them. "Lead us," they said. And he led them.
Coming to a dead end, we jump out of the boat, and after the next door we attend another conversation between the Vicar and the captain. The Vicar warns him about a dangerous stretch detected by the rod, suggesting a slightly longer but safer route, to which the captain replies,
My crew has been through a lot worse than that. And they can certainly manage that little patch of ice.
The Vicar once again suggested to avoid the difficulties altogether, but the captain accused his subordinates of not trusting the crew, a crew that, along him, navigated in Arctic water for 20 years. From this exchange we can deduce two things. First, we're in the North Pole because Arctic equals North. And second, I'm the best fucking YouTuber of them all. You should subscribe to me for finding such heightened details. You beautiful man. It's also clear how much proud the captain is. Almost narcissist. He navigated in this hostile environment for 2 decades with the same crew and ship. And we're a boat! A nuclear-powered icebreaker is one of the largest, powerful, and surely dangerous ships. Being a captain of such a vehicle is a role that very few could aspire to cover. Going against an opinion of a man like him, even with scientific data, it's a smack to their reputation and honor, both of which are purely derived from their navigation skill and career. Pretty much like Captain Birdseye, but without the crippling addiction to crack, plastic-filled fish, and chips. This fixation with pride comes out once again when he asks to the Vice if he has lost his courage, and then he sends him to his cabin, face to the wall, I guess. And while exiting, he only says,
This is insane.
He's right, but if anything, this shows how differently two generations thinks. You have the old school who thinks that bravery, honor, and courage will solve everything, while you have the younger generation who thinks more about the result and less about the way they're achieved. Not long after, we stumble upon another guy. By saving him, he'll unlock the door blocking our way. In the now accessible area, a sketch can be found, but this time accompanied by the captain's voice. In all probability, these notes were taken from its personal diary. This one explains where a rod is, and how all the water seeker used to go alone for maximum serenity, so that their senses could take
I
off.
already told you that, but I did better. I should be the captain of the ship.
Oh, you are the captain of your life.
No, that ship sank many years ago. 200 people drowned.
In the next area, another flashback occurs. Two men are trying to fix something to a wrench. By going down, we discover a deceased diver half stuck in the ice. When experiencing his moments, we see the room we were previously in slowly filling up with water in which we're about to dive in. After repelling the most sane person in Florida, we reinforce the ship's wall and turn the pump on. Once back, the ice has disappeared since the water was previously drained.
Whoa. One thing though, because while we were underwater, the crewmate who was helping us reveals a quite peculiar detail.
Tissue paper. That was one hell of an impact. But we dealt with it, thank God. And then, you know the rest. First, it got hot. Then it got cold. Now it's weird.
Being now able to continue, we traverse the previously flooded section. The temperature here is extremely low, leading to hypothermia in a matter of seconds. Not long after, we find another letter regarding the tribe.
And so he led them, Danko. And they followed him willingly. It was a difficult trek. It was dark, and the trees were like a mighty wall, barring the way. For a long time they went on, and the further they went, the thicker grew the forest, and the weaker grew their limbs. And then they began to murmur against Danko, but he kept walking at their head.
Not far away, the diver lays in a corner. This time, we simply cut a pipe that was blocking the pump. Once done, we get pulled out of the water, but ambushed by a kraken. Thankfully, our buddy distracts him, so we're able to end the threat with his axe. When the flashback ends, we pick up the axe and get through a now wrecked fence. This will take us into another freezing zone, but thankfully there's a small campfire. After the enemies have been put to sleep, we can access the area behind the enclosure, where some shadows are visible. Probably just the remnants of some crewmate just trying to survive.
I told you things were about to get weird, didn't I?
Turning on the switch will cause the shadows to disappear. With more questions than before, we get into the hatch. In the next area, there are some men stuck in a pool of ice.
And now, I wanted to see what happened if I didn't save the man. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was a tube on the stairs that was blocking the way, but at least I did find another letter regarding the tribe.
But one day a storm broke over the forest, and instantly it became as dark as if here were gathered all the nights that had passed since the forest was born.
Helping the stuck men will result in the draining of the lower floor, making it accessible. In one of the lower rooms, we have a flashback of someone shooting at something. Helping him rewards us with the first firearm, a Mosin Nagant. To get out from this section, we climb inside a ventilation pipe, at the end of which there's a sketch left by the captain.
We had met before. I could always feel it approaching and would know exactly when it would happen. The entire crew would go up top and wait. At first, we wouldn't see it, but could hear its retinue approach. And then, just when we had waited so long that we thought it wasn't coming, it would make its entrance. It would appear suddenly, majestically. Even when passing at a respectful distance, the entire space between us would seem to be frozen solid, and every one of us would yearn to breathe in the air of this ancient glacier. Just then, the entire ship would be deadly calm. The crew would stay perfectly still and watch the giant disappear. And then, the spell broken, everyone would return to their routine, loud and happy as ever. But I would stay on the bridge, silently thanking it for letting us pass.
For 20 years, these men led this crew on Arctic waters, yet every time they passed nearby this iceberg, this ancient giant, all the men would go outside to admire it, hungry to see it, hungry to even breathe its air in, almost craving for it. While walking, we get a glimpse of a crew member working while listening to some music. Just a reminder about how everything was, and even if it lasts just for a few seconds, it's enough to make you wish you were there with him. But it's too late now. Nearby, on a fallen console, another one of the captain's letters can be found.
The nuclear icebreaker Northwind hit an iceberg at 2:16 a.m. on the 24th of March 1968. There were no casualties, and the ship is currently still afloat. Repairs are underway, but may take up to a week. So what happened? We came across that iceberg 3 hours earlier than I expected. How did that happen? How could I screw up so badly?
And I know what you're thinking, but no, this wasn't the accident that led the Northwind to its current situation. You see, the captain said himself, he led this ship for 20 years.
The first nuclear icebreaker, the Lenin, started its service in 1959, while the reported incident of the Northwind occurred in 1968. If anything, this is a proof the crew knew how to deal with such emergency. Of course, I doubt they knew anything about madmen, but floods, yeah, easy peasy. Deeper in the room, a melancholic song starts playing, giving almost a sense of serenity. Until a distorted figure can be seen going up there. Since the passage is blocked, we go back, where a new gentleman greets us. This foe is visibly more agile than the others, and uses blowtorches strapped to his hands. Still, dies shot. After getting up the stairs, we arrive to a cabin, where the Vicha reports an incident to the headquarters.
To HQ, urgent. Considering the emergency, I feel that it is my duty, as an officer, to report that the wreck was a result of negligence and culpable inefficiency by the ship's captain. My repeated appeals to the captain to deal with the threat were ignored. I further wish to inform you that the fact that the accident was not catastrophic was purely due to a set of lucky circumstances, especially considering the age and poor condition of the ship.
I also must specify this is not the accident that the previous letter talked about. Even the Vicha said, due to its age and at the time of the first collision, in 1968, the Northwind was, at worst, a 7-year-old ship, which in nautical terms is nothing. Something else happened in the future, something that we still have to...
We can hear an almost satisfied tone coming from the Vicha. He's clearly not concerned about the crew's safety, but more about the promotion he may receive. Pushing on, we arrive at the engine room, where a crazy maniac shoots us with a Mosin Nagant. It's a big step up from the melee-only enemies we've encountered so far, but it also means that whatever we're fighting, it's not as brain-dead as it may look. In the upper floor of the same room, a flashback plays where the Vicha receive a reply from HQ. It's not clear what it says, but we can see the Vicha looking particularly pleased about it. After a short walk, another flashback, the Vicha bumps into what seems a soldier. Their dialogue is cryptic. Military man refers to his cargo and to take it easy, that the right time will come. But the only thing we can understand is that the Vicha is going to deliver the message. In the next area we find a guard who was game-ended by some glass shards. To save him we simply crouch under the windows. This rewards us with the most fundamentally broken, powerful and unbalanced gun in the entire game.
The water cannon! But I'll talk about cryostasis weaponry later. Why? Well, I still need to introduce a couple of other contestants. And then it's none of your business, okay? Who the fuck you think you are, huh? One of my ex-wife, huh? And maybe you think you are the one who took the kids. Oh, no, I know who you are, eh? You are the one who took the dog.
Shortly after, we have a vision of two men trying to climb on some pipes, until a guard shoots them down. After saving them, we unlock a ladder that leads to an elevator, where the guard we've already saved lies electrocuted. When, in his shoes, we can hear people screaming and begging him to let them in, or they'll succumb to hypothermia. After dropping a mattress, we get back on our feet, now being able to proceed. After a long corridor, a letter about the tribe can be found.
It was a difficult trek, and the people who had set out on it grew exhausted and lost heart. But they were ashamed to admit their weakness, and so they poured out their anger and resentment on Danko, who was walking at their head. They began to accuse him of being incapable of leading them.
After the opening of the next door, an extremely strange sight greets us. In the center of the room, a man is kept midair by 4 spine ice tubes. After destroying them to open a passage, the man falls down, and we enter a cabin, where another flashback happens. This time, we see the Vice handing over the message to the captain.
Detailed report on the repairs. Would you say a week to get it all done?
They will explain to you that the repair time depends very much on the abilities of our crew members.
As well as the abilities of the captain to perform his duties, like getting the ship to its destination while keeping the cargo and crew safe. So, why don't you get to it, sir? Because the recent chain of events, how do I say it, cast a shadow over your competence.
Now listen here. Let me explain something to you. I am in command of this vessel, until either I or my ship ceases to exist.
This is not your ship, sir. You are a member of its large crew tasked with a certain role, and in regards to its future, that might be decided sooner than you think.
Are you threatening me?
Here's a message from HQ, for a start.
After the captain gets the message, he remains silent. And when that occurs with men like him, men who always thinks to be in the right, it's a confirmation that the message didn't contain anything good. Also, what in the fuck was that?
When the electricity is turned on, the man appears outside the window, punching and almost begging for our attention while pointing towards the stairs. By following his direction, we arrive to a corridor where the door who's holding the guy starts violently shaking. But by going on, we arrive to a very similar cabin as before. Activating the electricity caused the elevator to move, almost crashing the man. But before that can happen,
This is the scariest encounter so far. It's nothing less than the confirmation that something beyond natural afflicted the ship. And I'm pretty sure that by now you're starting to have your own theory, but that doesn't matter right now. I mean, have you fucking saw that there is...
Спидер, блять.
Get the fuck out of here!
following the trail of Spider-Man, we get into the arena. During the fight, we have to use 2 switches to close the roof, or the creature will constantly replenish his health. Squeezing in a passage located in the room where Spider-Man was takes us to the next section of the ship. From now on, more enemies will show up, and even a new one armed with a sweet SVT-40. The arrangements suggest that, before everything went to shit, they were some sort of guard. But the thing that they all have in common is their horrible, almost rotted skin. On top of the stairs, behind the guard, we find a man. After entering a door, we're greeted by the chief engineer, who's working on a miniature model of a ship. He tasks us with something unclear that must be done before the captain shows up to, and I quote, cry about his unsolvable problems. Following chief indication takes us to the reactor, where, by listening to what he says, we replace the uranium rod, also learning that, along the captain, Chief worked on the ship for 20 years, but only recently he noticed that the reactor is consuming way more energy than it should. Once back, Cap arrives, with the message in his hand. Once he gives it to Chief, he reacts relieved, but at the same way frustrated, and ends up kicking the captain away.
Oh, really? What did you expect? You're a pain in the neck. Both of you, yes, you and your sorry excuse for a ship. I'm so tired. Look, you're a big boy now. You can't play around forever. And I can't help you this time. Now go, please. Go. Quit trying. Everyone has had it with you. No one wants you here. So there. He's been asking for it anyway. Just can't take it anymore.
Once the flashback ends, we continue on our path that requires a little walk through the reactor. But instead of complicated machine and radiations, we're faced with a massive crater, in all probability caused by a malfunction due to the crash. When out, we find another letter from the captain.
We might lose a lot more if it's as bad as it looks. Bad for whom? For the crew? Where every member seems to think that navigating the North Pole is like a trip to the shops? This is the North Pole's welcome. No marching band, no flags, no speeches. Instead, it shatters all your illusions, and suddenly, all the routine comforts of Mother Earth seem alien, half forgotten, like something in a dream. Only if this has happened to you can you truly understand the North Pole. And it will stay with you forever.
After opening a door, we experience a flashback where some crewmates are struggling to survive. But what's really interesting about this sequence is the end.
Here's what we have. HQ is aware of our situation and is launching a rescue mission. We'll stay in contact as long as the radio is operational. Secondly,
as soon as we get through the engine room, something appears. It's initially confusing, but the dreadful noise and the bullets flying towards us are a perfect indication of its intention. Unfortunately, before we're able to end him, it disappears. The door we came from is now locked, and the only way out is helping this man. While being him, we must craft a piece for the sprinkling system, using machinery in a specific orders. Now that the door is unlocked, we continue our Urbex exploration. It's the first time from the start where we can go outside, but it doesn't feel any better. If anything, it feels even more dangerous. Upon exiting, we have a vision of the captain, silently watching the horizon while holding the message from HQ. But every time we get closer, this so-brained piece of paper slips away. When the flashback ends, we find it on the door.
To the captain of nuclear icebreaker North Wind. Upon cargo delivery, proceed to destination for temporary docking. Your ship will be subsequently decommissioned. Prepare all necessary paperwork.
Now we know what HQ reply was, but to fully understand why the captain looked so depressed, you gotta comprehend that for a man like him, a man who spent 20 years on Arctic waters, on board of the same ship, a boat isn't simply a vehicle. It's nothing less than a life companion. A life companion that now will be took away from him, both for personal responsibilities and because the one who was supposed to help him turned their back for greed or stress, I guess.
Once inside again, we traverse the dormitory. After a brief walk, we arrive at the infirmary, where many flashbacks happens. In the first one, we can see a lot of people sitting in the waiting room while grunting and suffering due to an unknown problem. to the point where the medbay get overcrowded. The doctor prescribes many medicines, but apparently the situation is too critical. The patients are vomiting, collapsing, and developing internal bleeding. In the X-ray room, while looking at a scan, the doctor says,
"Look at what? I can see it already. They are to the bone, almost glowing. Go check the pulse." I don't know, just makes no sense.
While getting out of the medbay, the distorted figure appears, shortly followed by what looks like water pouring in. Following the direction of the eyes leads us in the obituary, when the screens turn to black and white and all the mortuary fridges open to let the bodies disappear. This could represent the people we've saved so far. Looking behind, we see a metal gate which connects to the next part of the ship. This section is visibly different. The doors we were used to see are now replaced by gates, and soon enough is shown why. This used to be the prison block, and inside one of the cells there's a frozen inmate. During the impact, as a safety measure, all the cells open, releasing all the prisoner. Military men tried to stop them, but after seeing himself outnumbered, he let them free. But not without a warning.
Are you indeed of those who have the right to cast off the yoke? There are many a slave who has lost all their value after becoming free.
The North Wind was used to transport convicts into labor or re-educational camps, and probably in the most remote, cold, ass-freezing camps Russia had to offer. And that's why military men refers as them as cargo. Nothing more than a simple things that you have to move from point A to point B.
When back, we are greeted by a metal rattling. Investigating the noise takes us upstairs, where we find this. A brainless prisoner who's hitting the floor with his bow. By interacting with him, this happens. After we've dealt with the creature, the man appears a little bit further. The second time this occurs. Their induments are reminiscent of some kind of uniform, and given the circumstances, I'll say they were prison guards. The first one are blindfolded, with keys stuck in their hands, while the seconds are armed with a Papasha 41, but instead of being blindfolded, their face is completely absent and replaced by a prison cell. The third time we encounter the man, this happens.
Details, there is time to talk about cryostasis weaponry. The first self-defense tool we find is a simple lock. A very rudimental gun that perfectly shows how desperate Alexander is. And if you're wondering, does a lock work as a knuckle duster? Yes, it does! Then a valve and an axe. The melee combat is very well studied, so much so that I didn't thought that there were firearms at all in this game. With the directional key, you decide what kind of punch to throw, and with right mouse, you block yourself. But where cryostasis really shines is the gunplay. Slow, clunky, and methodicals are the key words. Due to our 40 kilograms of clothes, it's impossible to outrun foes or speed reload like in Call of Duty. So it is essential to count every bullet in the chamber and seek for shelter. An incredibly good combat system that could have really took this survival element of the game to a whole other level if it wasn't for the
horrible
water cannon. And I truly miss the talent to describe how fundamentally broken this gun is. Let me just say that you find ammo everywhere, it doesn't overheat, it doesn't need to reload, and of course, It continuously stun-locked the enemy, making it absolutely impossible for them to return fire or even move. What can I say? This is great!
The third time we encounter the man, this happens. The implications of what is shown are immense. It's not a coincidence the developer made this man brainless. He's just a window over something indescribably bigger. Something who withstood time itself, attending the birth of planet Earth 4.5 billion years ago. And what lies in front of us can only be described as its core. Shooting it will serve no effect. It goes to show that whatever afflicted the ship can only be described as a cosmic creature, a being so ancient and powerful, whose existence redefines everything we know about the universe. While searching for a way out, we find another letter about the lost tribe.
And at last, the people thought of going to the enemy and making him a gift of their freedom. So frightened were they by the thought of death that not one of them shrank from living the life of a slave.
After finding a door, we arrive in a room full of cages. Turning the light on will trigger some dogs to appear, but they're not normal good boys. They've been changed. Another demonstration of how the anomaly didn't spare anything. Moving on, we see a creature jumping in a hatch. We don't yet know, but something's waiting down there. Something that, upon feeling our presence, burst immediately in.
But unfortunately for him, I have a water cannon.
After a little, a door leading outside can be seen. But upon getting closer, a flashback occurs, where other prisoners return back after facing the deadly cold. Outside, there is no time to waste. It's a desperate run against hypothermia and something else. Making the most out of every room and its sources is vital in a situation like this one, since temperatures are so extremely low that they can kill Alexander in a matter of seconds. But right when we think we found a small oasis, the abomination who's been following us reveals itself. It looks almost like an insect. It even has wings, but its clothes are creepingly similar to the ones used by the convicts. Near the counter, we can even see what looks like a cocoon carved in the ice, presumably used by the insect-like creature. By pushing on in the deadly cold, we arrive to the upper floor when an helicopter lies destroyed on the ground. Inside, there's the body of the guard that we've already saved. This time he shows the prisoner rioting and trying to destroy the ship's antenna. But by firing some shots, we were able to scare them away, or otherwise they would have took down the aerial, also destroying the helicopter in the process. Once back, the helicopter is gone, making it possible to access the inside of the ship. Attached to a switch, we find another letter regarding the tribe.
But, for the sake of my own mental health, here's a quick summary of what they say. So, the people are very incredibly angry. And they are like, hey, listen, Danko, man, we are working for like 7 months. 90% of us are dying, and the other 10% are editor. You must die for this, you crazy maniac. But Danko, being the gigachad that he is, he said, hey, listen, man, you wanted me to lead you, I led you. Also, if you're dying, just continue to live, you damn fuck. But this only infuriated the people more, strangely.
Activating the switch causes the door to close, but it also creates a passage that we can use to enter another part of the ship, where, after a brief walk, this happens.
Now, if you're rightfully wondering what in the hell just happened, well, Simply put, this is the point where the developer ran out of money. Because you see, cryostasis was developed by a small Ukrainian team called Action Form. And after this incredible masterpiece, they went on to create one mobile games, then tried to do another one, but cancel it soon after. And you can see in this final section of the game how much they were struggling. Probably because 3/4 of the budget went into the physics effort for the icicles and the defrosting things, while the other went for the cutscene to develop this beautiful story. But thankfully, it never gets bad. Rust? Fuck yeah, but bad? Nah, not too much at least.
Still going on, we arrive at the fridge, where the beautiful process of hamburger creation is firstly experienced and then interrupted. After learning about processed meat, we end up in the kitchen, where on a door lies another letter about the tribe.
So the people were incredibly, extremely super duper angry, and they were screaming, "You shall die, Danko, you shall die!" But Danko, again, being that incredible extreme chad that he wasn't angry, nor he was happy. He was sad, because he knew that without him, those people would have perished.
Outside of the kitchen, we're once again ambushed. After the enemies have been all cooked, a locker falls onto the ground, revealing a passage to the next area. After some fighting, we end up in a cabin, where on a console lies a letter left by the captain.
It's been 2 weeks, and the ship is dead in the water. Why won't this iceberg let us go? These thoughts have haunted me during the long nights as I listen to the mournful sounds of the glacier. Nothing exhausts the mind quite so much as dark thoughts. And so I was exhausted, but I finally understood. We had all stayed in our cabins. No one came out to greet it. We were all convinced we were going to get through. We disrespected it. We had no fear. And so the thin layer of our human knowledge cracked under the weight of nature.
By no one came out to greet it, it's implied that at some point the North Wind had a collision with the ancient iceberg. The captain even said it himself, that every time the crew will go outside to greet it.
But unlike most of the time after a collision where the ships either sinks or continue to its destination hoping that the iceberg didn't took the license plate, the North Wind remained stuck, almost like the iceberg wanted the ship for itself.
After riding in an elevator discovered soon after, we get into the living quarters, where the second most nonsense thing of the game happened. While in a cabin, Alexander physically enters a flashback to grab a key kept by a bald jackass so that we can open a door to another section of the living quarters.
Now, first of all, if we had the ability to physically go back in time, why haven't we done nothing more concrete? For example, speak with the fucking captain! Second of all, why does this random bald man have the key for another section of the living quarters where other probably bald men are sleeping? I'm extremely sure that even in a country who thinks that leaving people at 40 degrees Celsius with penguin is re-educational, that would be considered a safety hazard.
After entering, we can see how the water from the broken aquarium froze, blocking almost every access, except for a little space where we can squeeze in to enter a cabin, where a man lies on his bed.
I told you!
But the most unsettling thing is the unnatural shape assumed by the ice, almost looking like it stretched to get the man. By taking him to safety, all the water from the broken aquarium will be gone, even though it's still shattered. Through a hatch in the aquarium, we get into the lower floor. If we open the cabin's door, we're greeted with destroyed rooms and freezing cold, while the metallic door leads to the next level. But if we explore the inside of the cabins, ignoring the freezing cold, we will find the only hidden letter of the game left by the captain.
The iceberg isn't holding the ship. we became a part of it on our own. It let us in, and now we're living and breathing it and becoming all the time further entombed. We have become indifferent and brittle. It crippled us, brought us to our knees. Fear grips us tightly, and we willingly offer ourselves to it. We are still alive for now, but we will be in the power of the glacier forever.
I love how this is the only hidden letter. It confirms the real nature of the glacier, so it even makes sense for the captain, being under its influence, to hide it.
After a massive walk, we end up once again in the reactor, where we have a flashback showing our favorite guard and chief engineer, until a communication suggests the two to take the helicopter. After it ends, this occurs.
And it sent up a shower of sparks and went out.
Every single things we've done in the past created a timeline that now is colliding with ours. A reality where hopefully none of this happened. Following the cracks, we end up outside where, in between the freezing cold, is firstly shown a flashback of the guards protecting the antenna and the helicopter, and then another always of him being left on the ship despite doing everything he could to save his superiors. Once inside, we enter an office where, after we read the only useful letter, who's about the crew hunting a bear, Spider-Man 2 attacks. After he's done, we explore the area where he was, finding a set of stairs that takes us to the next area. At the end of a corridor, there's a broken door. When we try to open it, this happens.
What's going on? Are the repairs done?
The captain might destroy the
Do
ship.
not forget my cargo. Captain, open the door. Captain, sir, open the door. What's wrong with you?
Ahead flank.
Where's the radio message? Did you give that message to him?
Inside the room, another flashback occurs.
Open the door. What's wrong with you?
Ahead flank.
Where's the radio message? Did you give that message to him? What's the matter? Isn't this what you wanted? Grab the wheel. The ship is yours.
It's not turning. The control lever is stuck. I can't move it. Help me! The telegraph is stuck. Engine room full astern.
We're doing 20 knots. It's not safe.
Come on, back! Emergency, or I'll have you court-martialed.
Full astern. Fire in the engine room. Reactor shielding initiated.
Can't we stop it?
Do something!
Calm down. There's no need to rush anymore. It'll start soon.
How much longer?
Don't know. This is an automated process.
We need to get out of here.
And go where? What about the crew?
The crew will manage. Get the helicopter ready.
Without the captain's permission, I can't do that, sir.
I'll help you. We'll all do it together. I'll meet you on top in 10 minutes.
Cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days.
Wait, he's saying something.
No, I can't hear anything.
Still confused, but with a slightly clearer picture in mind, we go towards the exit, where on the door a letter about the tribe can be found.
And the flames of a great yearning to save them and lead them out onto an easy path leaped up in his heart, and these mighty flames were reflected in his eyes. And seeing this, The people thought he was enraged. They thought that was why his eyes flashed so. And they instantly grew wary, like wolves, expecting him to throw himself against them. And they drew closer about him that they might seize him and kill him. He saw what they were thinking, but the flames in his heart only flared up higher, for their thoughts added the sorrow to the flames of his yearning.
After the read, we opened the door. Outside, so many red cracks appeared that the temperature is now actually livable. All while the captain speaks religious gibberish. After a flashback where the captain gets transported on the helicopter, we arrive near a crater where this cutscene plays.
What about me? Oh, did you forget about me? Oh, don't leave me! Don't leave!
And the forest went on singing its mournful song, and the thunder crashed, and the rain poured down. "What else can I do to save these people?" cried out Danko above the thunder. And suddenly he ripped open his breast and tore out his heart and held it high above his head. It shone like the sun, even brighter than the sun, and the raging forest was subdued and lighted up by this torch, the torch of a great love for the people. And the darkness retreated before it and plunged, quivering, into a yawning bog in the depths of the forest. And in their astonishment, the people were as if turned to stone. The brave Danko cast his eye over the endless steppe, cast a joyful eye over this land of freedom, and gave a proud laugh, and then he fell down and died. And his followers were so full of joy and hope that they did not notice he had died, and that his brave heart was still flaming beside his dead body. But one timid creature noticed it, and fearing he knew not what, stamped on the flaming heart, and it sent up a shower of sparks and went out.
Everything we've done has indeed changed the course of events, but still isn't enough. We must make one more final step.
Now, please, hold on, because this is a real mushroom trip.
In front of us lies a red light. After we interact with it, we're teleported into a corrupted version of the ship. From the crater emerges none other than Kronos. Kronos, the Greek god of time. Exactly him. For some reasons, we now have powers that must be used to transform the enemies attacking us and Kronos into red circles. After doing that an incomprehensible number of times, Kronos will lend his hand toward us. But before we continue, what in the hell just happened? Well, all in caps, eh? In my opinion, Kronos is a representation of our power and consciousness. This entire fight, Alexander was confronting the iceberg on a spiritual plane. Sure, it's represented in one of the worst way possible, but it's also true that at least the developer tried something different. Instead of the usual, you've guessed now, go shoot down the godlike monster. When we get on his hand, Kronos takes us in a limbo, existing between the two realities. Based on where we decide to go, one of the three superior appears: Vice, army man and chief engineer. All of them also accompanied by the corrupted man. Vice is sitting on his throne with a chessboard under, while the figure sits on the ground. This shows the battle against the captain for the leadership of the North Wind, but also his superiority complex, thinking that everyone is inferior.
And unfortunately, guys, this is where the game gets political.
He's supposed to represent the elite, those who have already money and power, but only seek more, doing everything they can to get it, even if this means ruining other people's lives. It's not a coincidence the corrupted figure shows the moment in which he delivered the message, shattering the captain's life to have his position. If we interact with Vicha himself, we're taken to the same moment, but with freedom of choice. If instead of delivering the message, if we go to the lower floor and work along those the Vicha reputed inferiors to repair the ship, the ending plays.
Grab my hand! Grab my hand! Come on! Come on, grab! No! Come on! I'm the captain of the North Wind nuclear icebreaker. Welcome. You are lucky. The ice is rather thin here. You could have easily gone under. Well, now, no time to lose. Let's head for the ship. We have some rough times ahead. And let us send your wonderful dogs back. Unlike us, they always find their way home.
Yeah, good ending. And also I must specify that if we do everything else except help the crew, we get sent back, so it's pretty much mandatory. The next superior is Armyman. He's sitting at a table with the figure, and on the table lies an eaten fish. He of course represents the army and their greed, the will to take everything you need from everyone without any regard, just to complete your task. That's why the figure shows the moment of the impact and him only caring about his cargo, the prisoners. If, while being him, we help the captain during the first impact, the ship will miraculously unlock the steering wheel, making it possible for the Vicha to avoid the second collision, and the game ends in the same way as before.
Grab my hand! Grab my hand! Come on!
The third figure is Chief Engineer. He represents the working class. If, while being him, instead of bullying Captain away, we get from a locker the skill ship model we were working on before, which turns out to be a replica of the North Wind, the Captain will be now extremely happy knowing that the vast majority of the people who made the crew will work to keep functional and improve the vessel that they all live on. And of course, the game ends. Yeah, by the way guys, ship equals society. In 1961, the North Wind started service, only 2 years after the first nuclear icebreaker, the Lenin. In 1968, the North Wind hit an obstacle due to a miscalculation from the captain. In these years of sailing, the crew also encountered the Asian glacier. Somewhere in the 1970s, the Vicha enters the crew. In 1981, the ship hit an obstacle considered a little patch of ice, suffering damage both at the bodywork and in the reactor. Soon after, the Vicha contacts HQ, receiving an answer short after. The reactor starts leaking radiation. The captain receives the message. None of the people he knows want to help, sending him into a spiral of depression. When approaching the ancient iceberg, the captain makes the decision to crash the ship into the glacier, to hopefully sink with his embarkation, but both him and the North Wind survived. Soon after the crash, an SOS is sent and reparation are started, but the people already weakened by the radiation are easily overcome by the glacier influence and start to attack the other crew member. The second incident caused the already malfunctioning reactor some type of critical problem, leading to its explosion. After some time, Alexander receives a message to get to the North Wind, and the game starts.
It's not explained how we got our powers or why, but it's heavily implied that we were the SOS team since no one else came, meaning that the most powerful and knowledgeable being in the universe is Mother Russia. Oh yeah. Also, did you forget about Danko? Yes. Well, me too. I just wrote it in the script. By the way, we are Danko. Yes, we have the power to change society. Yes. Listen, at the end, this is a beautiful game with a beautiful story. It's a shame that toward the end it is a little bit rushed and it gets too much political, making the ship a representation of the Russian society. It doesn't matter. I love communism. You love communism. He loves communism. Everyone loves communism. But still, hands down, one of the best games that I've ever played. And it's a shame that it's not available anymore on Steam, probably because Steam hates communism. I don't get them. This was my special Halloween video. I really hope that it will make in time. If it doesn't, well, I simply underestimated the incredible mole of work that I had to do. So in that case, fuck you. But if this video came out of Halloween, happy Halloween, eat a lot of sugar, be diabetic, be communist, play cryostasis, and I'll go to smoke some crack now with Captain Birdseye. Goodbye, guys. Have a nice day.